Welcome back to another edition of the Course Creation Incubator. I'm Gina Onativia, your digital strategist and course coach, here to help you build and scale your course creation business to generate more passive income. I'm excited to have another amazing guest here for the Build Your Audience series. And today's guest is a bit of a wild card. I'm bringing on a Pinterest expert. Now, let me explain. My friend Ranbir Puar was on the podcast a couple of episodes ago. She was teaching us some strategies to manage our stress and overwhelm. Her episode is fantastic. You can find it in the show notes if you missed it. After hearing about Pinterest from Ranbir, I decided to check out this talk in this online summit I had purchased, and there was one woman that was really bringing the value, Megan Williamson. And I thought to myself, I've got to book this lady on the podcast. She's so specific. This is exactly what my people need. Now, Megan is a Pinterest strategist, a niche marketing expert, and an OG pinner. She helps overwhelmed and confused business owners learn how to grow their audience with Pinterest. Megan is here to talk through how to make Pinterest work for you, to demystify the platform, and to help us grow our businesses. Listen in, she's incredible. And the cool thing about this interview is that we don't just talk about Pinterest marketing. We go into the back end of selling and how to promote to your ideal customer and the right way to build up that trust and that journey to the sale. It's a bit of a tangent, but a beautiful one. All right, let's listen in. Megan, welcome to the podcast. I've been wanting to have you on for months now, so thank you so much for taking the time.
Oh, you're so welcome, Gina. Thanks for having me.
Okay, first and foremost, let's just lay it out there. How can Pinterest help you as a course creator?
I love that we're jumping right into this.
We're just diving in.
Yeah, no nicety.
There's
Let's
no
just
nicety.
talk.
Just
we are in a day and age that we need to just get down to the dirty.
We're moms. We have busy schedules. We've got whole businesses we're running. Hit it.
And course creators are no different. You got a million things going on. You want to know if you can use Pinterest when you're a course creator. So here's the amazing thing. I've been working with Pinterest, like first as a blogger, then as a consultant, then started my own marketing agency for as long as it's existed, really, but been helping business owners for over 7 years. I think I keep saying 7 years and I'm like, wait, a year has passed. Now I got to update my lingo, right?
It's 8 years. Right.
So what we've seen in the last 3 years, as people have moved into the online space, as digital courses have become the norm, like even regular people, it's not just people who work in online businesses who are consuming digital courses, especially during the pandemic when maybe you can't take a college course or a university course and you want to take something, the skies are the limit, is we've seen this surge in people who are taking their expertise and bringing it to the online world. And with that, they need to market their skills. So as time has gone on, Pinterest has evolved incredibly. First, it started out with, that's where we went for like kitty snacks and home decor, right? Outfit inspiration. And what we've seen is this beautiful thing that it has evolved and expanded as the user base has expanded and the people, the demographic. So, women use it, moms use it. Young people are using it to plan starting a business. Men are using it. And individuals who are non-identified, we're seeing explosions in all the different, no matter how you identify, people using it to plan their life. And along with that is many are going there to find solutions to problems that they have. And so they are looking for digital resources, digital courses to help them learn and aspire. And so Pinterest is that place. And that's why I really love it. It's a search engine. So people are heading there with intention. And often they go there when the idea is just a seed, right? It's just a seed. I want to start my own business. I want to learn how to be a more mindful parent. I want to learn how to start cooking at home. I have a new puppy. I want to so at the very beginning, just before the pandemic became a very real thing, we adopted a 8-week-old puppy. And I've had dogs my whole life, and he is unlike every other dog that we've had. And so right away I was like, oh my gosh, how am I going to hire a dog trainer? So I actually bought, as a regular person, I bought online courses with dog trainers so that I could access this expert in the UK, and I'm in Canada. So I could, one from the US and one for, it did not matter. And so if any of that kind of like was a light bulb moment, there's never been a better time as an online course creator, because people are not only actually discovering, they're intentionally looking for digital products on the platform.
And then how do you feel about, because you're going to be part of our Build Your Audience series, and Pinterest's ability to grow your leads and grow your audience?
I love that. So there's two different ways of looking at it. So Pinterest is a search engine, and it does operate very differently than other social media platforms or channels, whatever your preference is for what you want to call them. And what I love about it, and I've always said this, so I've worked with a lot of bigger brands or even some household names, and why they often are very interested in using Pinterest is because it often is what I would call like an untapped resource in terms of audience. So they know their people are using it, but they haven't figured out how to use it yet or how to reach that audience. And what's so beautiful is, as a search engine or a visual search engine where people are going for finding, using their eyes to discover information or find solutions, is that it creates this amazing like playground for discoverability and building brand awareness. Now, the next tricky thing, and you mentioned a talk that I did at a summit, and we talk about this, that as a lead generator, it can be trickier, especially if you're as a course creator or somebody who might have a lead magnet or a freebie. And so what we often see in the Pinterest marketing world is that from discovery, so from the day that people discover your pin to actually signing up for your thing, right? Joining your email list or generating a lead for your business can be quite a bit longer. Now, people get frustrated because we've been conditioned, find you, sign up, sign. And that's not really how humans are. Not a lot, especially a lot of women aren't necessarily like that. Well, we take time to research and look at things and see what's out there. What do people talk about? Like, who has the vibe that you like, who speaks like you do, who resonates with you, and who do you want to learn more with? And I think we're actually, in a very lovely way, getting more, we're scrutinizing. We're not just signing up for all the lead magnets anymore, right?
Even
we're
more
like,
so today.
Our inboxes are getting noisier. And so people are being choosier. So what I like to remind people is that Pinterest can be a wonderful place to generate leads, but you have to remember, it's not this like tight and cozy place like your Instagram DMs or, or your Facebook community where you do regular lives and you have your super fans who show up and are cheering you on. So you have to remember that as a business owner or a course creator, however you identify, entrepreneur, you have to take ownership for that customer journey and what you're going to do. Once somebody finds you, what are you going to do to hook them? What are you going to do to keep them? And for your what's going to be super sexy? I know not everybody uses lead magnets. Maybe you have a quiz, maybe you have a webinar that you invite people to watch, but whatever you're using to generate leads for your business, you have to think about, if somebody was completely cold, literally, they don't know you from a crow, what are you going to do? And I think that's where Pinterest is a longer game. It is, tends to be from discovery. I had someone I worked with, and she was a coach, and she had some digital products. She also offered coaching packages, and she always asked new coaching clients, "How did you find me?" And somebody said, 10 months ago, I saw one of your pins and I read a blog post. Wow. And it was beautiful. So the person saw a pin, saved it, read the blog post, started coming back and reading Amy's blog, then signed up for Amy's email list, then quietly was being nurtured and hung out. And then from the first day to the end, it was about 9 to 10 months. And she bought a $10,000 coaching package with Amy. But it just shows like we have this expectation. It's like, oh, they found me on a Monday, they buy my $10,000 coaching package on Tuesday. Or course creators, exactly. No. And what we forget is that we have to, it's like, you would never walk up to a stranger and be like, hey, I have a course on training puppies. It's $2,000. Do you want to buy it? It's like, no, 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 no. What are you going to do? Right. Like, it's like you meet them at the dog park a few times, your dogs play together. You talk about your training. Someone comes up to you and says, oh, Megan, I took your puppy training course. And then that person standing there is like, oh, wait, you train puppies? I have a puppy. It's like this long song and dance that we like to ignore in the online space. So Pinterest is no different. It does take longer, but it is a wonderful lead generator for course creators or people who sell digital products, but you do have to be patient.
Okay. I freaking love this conversation. One of my nerdy things that I love to do for my campaigns and my client campaigns is to see the trajectory of who bought.
Oh,
right?
I love,
and like track it down and like, oh, a year ago they opted in, right? And then they got these nursery. I love exactly what you're saying, because
same.
That's the journey, right?
The journey, but also the data. This is like someone, I was running a workshop for my membership yesterday, and somebody said, Megan, I've been in business for 3 years. And until I was, in your course with you, or your program with you, I wasn't making data-driven decisions. And it was like, my heart was singing. I was like, yes, yes, because it's like, we sometimes get into this weird, and intuition is, I really am somebody who believes in intuition, but at some point in your business, you have to make decisions based on the data, along with some intuition, understanding your customer. Like it's the symphony, right? It's things that play together. And that when you start to see the customer journey, but you have to track it. And that's what a lot of people don't actually do to be able to understand, to make better decisions, sadly.
I know. Data-driven decisions, if you're listening right now. So you mentioned a bunch of different kind of industries. Do you think there's industries that do better? So in terms of course creation, right? Like I've got somebody who helps people with chronic disease. There's a course about that. Then I've got somebody who did a course on doodling, right? So like talk about a visual medium. Does Pinterest really lend itself better to certain areas of focus?
Yeah, it's a wonderful question. I think that we've seen a lot of Pinterest, just like all the social media, like landscape has changed incredibly. Yeah. That said, I think there are certain industries that are shoo-ins or easier with uptake. There's the big five, like anything related to home decor and design, women's fashion, food and drink, health and wellness. Like there's certain beauty, there's certain areas. Travel was what is becoming, again, it's like surging back, but it did take a dip during the pandemic. And so what we find is that those areas are like the areas where the uptake and traction is much quicker. It's not to say that the other area, like doodling or things related to chronic disease or health, they are there, but the audience is much smaller. So what I always say to people is like, that's not a bad thing. It just means that you want to attract the right person, not 10,000 of the wrong people. What's the point? What's the point of having, over 9,000 people if they don't actually benefit? You're not interested in buying a doodling course. I actually had a client who was a full-time blogger, but she had courses on calligraphy and handwriting. And so what we did, we integrated that, because calligraphy and handwriting and fonts are a huge area of design on Pinterest. And sort of understanding how to reach those people on Pinterest who aren't just looky-loos, my grandma used to call them, right? Like people who come and they're interested in looking at your handwriting, but they're not actually interested in taking that step of learning how, directed doodling or handwriting. And I think so. It's a gray zone, right? They are there. Some areas, actually, I'm always very open about this, that my area of expertise is an extremely small area on Pinterest. Like Pinterest marketing services or Pinterest marketing education is a very small segment compared to doodling or handwriting. Right. But it really just depends on not so much what your audience or, the segment. Yes, there's bigger audiences for certain niches, but it's actually more about your content. It's more about your content vehicles that support whatever course you are selling. And that's going to be more predictive of your success.
Okay. So tell me a little bit more about that. What do you mean? Like what content vehicles do better?
Yeah. So, Pinterest really was built on the back of blogging. right?
Yeah,
So people
right.
who would read really high value blogs say, I want to save that for later, not just file it in your, like on your, computer in a million like tabs. So that's how it got started. So what Pinterest thrives on when you are starting out or even just trying to resurrect a dead Pinterest account, Pinterest thrives on you adding or contributing high quality, unique content to the platform. Right. So they want to see unique. They don't want to see just the same thing regurgitated over and over again. They want to see you adding your content that's going to add value to your ideal audience member and being consistent with it. So when I talk about not necessarily hyper focusing on are my people there, it's actually, do you have the content to reach your person? Do you have those vehicles, those bridges to reach out to people? And a lot of people, I want to say, like, whether it's a podcast, whether it's video, so you're an active YouTuber, or, my preference is always for things that are hosted on your website or embedded on your website, right? So like you want to own your most valuable resources. So I love, love, love content marketing or blogging. And you can embed your videos or embed your blog podcast episodes right on your website. And so the more you do that, the better, because Pinterest loves when you have a claimed website that you're regularly publishing new content on, just like Google, which is a search engine, right? So Google and Pinterest are more similar, apples and apples, whereas like, apples and oranges would be like Instagram, which I know has some searchability, but just not the same. And so really it is about being a regular contributor. Now, one really cool thing is that in the last few years, they've rolled out something that was called story pins, is now called idea pins. And idea pins are much like short, snappy video and images that help reach your ideal audience and don't require something from your website necessarily. Like you don't have to have a destination URL. So for business owners who maybe aren't as, they're less inclined to blog or be active on their website. And I know there's a lot of people, it's just not going to happen due to time restrictions or life or, brain capacity. And so idea pins are a format that are a wonderful solution to people who want to create that visibility on the platform, but don't necessarily have a podcast or a blog or a channel that they can regularly publish to. And that's new and exciting and done, amazing things for people.
Okay, love that. So I talked offline off this interview that, I'm a total beginner. And some people listening, I think actually you guys listening are doing better than me with Pinterest. If you were going to give us a first few steps to get started or where to maximize our time as course creators, what would you say?
Well, what I would start with is spending an hour or two optimizing your account for your expertise or industry. And what that starts with, just like you might do some SEO research, some search engine optimization research for a blog post or for your website, you want to make sure that Pinterest as a visual search engine understands what your account is about and what sort of content you're putting out into the world. And so how you do that is by optimizing your account using relevant keywords and keyword phrases. So you can look on Pinterest and look up, everyone has their niche or their little shoebox that they like to fit in, and think about those areas that are going to help connect you to your person. So what types of things are they searching for? What sort of, you need to insert yourself in your customer's journey. So what are the solutions that you provide in terms of education or tools, paid or free, that are going to help provide a solution to the problem that they experience? And how you do that is through your valuable content and, creating those pathways. And so you do that by using relevant keywords so that Pinterest knows what you're about. And then after you optimize your account and your bio, you want to optimize your boards for the same reason so that Pinterest understands. It's a good way of looking at it is like boards are like your content pillars or those areas of expertise that you want to be known for. And it could also be like you can build out like, again, we're, using the example of like a person who has a course about doodling, you might know that people who doodle are also really interested in color theory or handwriting. And so you can have boards that are relevant. What I always say is like, what are those main topics that you talk about on your Instagram channel or on your blog, and make sure you're covering those areas on your Pinterest account. So that's what I would do.
Okay, inside baseball a little bit. I noticed on your website, your opt-ins are about the keywords, right? Like I think there's keywords for people in the food industry. You don't have a kit, like you don't have Pinterest 101, right? Which was what I was looking for before this episode. Now, is that strategic because you don't want 101 people and you want people who are a little further down?
Gina, asking the hard questions. You know what? No one's ever called me out on that. And I'm wearing makeup, so you guys can't see that I'm blushing. And if you're listening to the podcast, you can't see anyways. You know what? It's a really good question. I'll tell you, I felt that when I entered the arena, I got well known for managing brand accounts. And people started to get to know me because they'd say like, oh, she's a Pinterest manager and she works with brands and people really trust her. And then then my digital resources came. I resisted creating a course. And because I just thought, well, there's already so many 101s out there. I don't want to. And actually, I like to think that because of my extensive experience, along with the work I do with different, companies, is that I do have advanced Pinterest marketing knowledge. And so I do tend to thrive when I'm not working with beginners.
No, I think, hey,
like I love being challenged. I love people who own it. I do actually, out of demand, I created a beginner's course.
Yes.
And then I decided to archive it because I didn't want to keep it up. And I think it's not because there isn't a place for it. It's just that I love those more advanced questions about getting into our numbers, how to scale using ads, how to come up. Like, I love those more trickier situations. And I think that I just don't feel the fire light up with me with the 101. Although obviously I get a lot of 101 questions and, we do support those people. But I have to say, I love go-getters. I love people who already have the 101 and then I help them scale to that like higher, more strategic degree.
You know your ideal person. And I love this. This is a great conversation for every course creator because a lot of times I get course creators like, I want everybody. And I'm like, no, you don't. You don't want everybody. And that day where you realize I don't want the 101 people don't light me up is a fucking great day. Okay.
It is a great day. But here's the thing. I have a unique problem. I'm going to be really honest that I have the largest Pinterest marketing membership. And we, without a doubt, always attract beginners.
Of course.
And it's really hard for me because I find that beginners are very eager. I love their enthusiasm, but they don't do my program. They watch the intro video.
They just take the free information.
Or they do actually buy my course, but they'll buy my membership, which is a course and like a program all bundled together. But then they start jumping into the group because they're so eager. So they don't want to do the actual coursework. They just want me to tell them what to do. And I have to say, I love you, but you got to go do the program first. You got to go do the work. And I find that people who are a little bit more advanced, they've already done a lot of the footwork so that when we put our head and I look at it, I thrive in collaborative partnerships.
Okay.
So when it's like, I've been problem solving, I'm hitting my head against a wall, help me with this. Not, hey, I signed up for an account, but I can't remember what email I used. Megan, what should I do? Can you email the person at Pinterest? I'm like, I'm not that guy. I don't want to be that guy for you. I hope somebody else does, but it's not me.
That's not me. I think that's great. Thank you for allowing me to, I don't even think it's call you out, just get clarity.
Yeah. No, I really love that when people send something but people are afraid to ask me hard questions. And I don't know why. Maybe I come across as a little bit intimidating, or something. That's what my husband says that I sometimes am like that, but it's just, I've never been asked that before. And I love it. There's a reason, right? Like it's not for me.
Oh, okay. So we got to wrap up because busy ladies. Two last questions. One, I know you just mentioned Pinterest is always evolving, right? So what are some key things that we should keep in mind about marketing for Pinterest? Like if you were going to leave us a few thoughts.
Okay. So in terms of like, just to get to the nitty gritty, and if you're going to start using it, what I want people to do is to think about, and I actually just did a workshop with my members yesterday on this, is it's not always about reinventing the wheel, but you can, and this is actually a direct quote from my friend Alex, who works in inclusion and diversity at Pinterest. She said, Pinterest they fully support business owners, course creators repurposing with purpose. So don't just slap up your Instagram. Don't just like take your like raw image from your podcast episode landing page that's meant for something else and put that on Pinterest and you can't even see what's on it. Like, repurpose, but take that extra few minutes, whether you're delegating to someone, a team member or VA, or you're doing it yourself in Canva, resize your images, size your images for the platform, invest in helping yourself stand out in terms of images, make it a no-brainer. I know that you were intending to ask me about Pinterest images. And so this sort of goes hand in hand. Yeah. It's a visual platform, right? Just think about it. How much effort do you put into your images that you're sharing to Instagram? And what you have to remember is that people are making decisions with their eyes. So optimize for the platform. I'm gonna bestow, everybody can Google, image sizing Pinterest, and you're going to get a million blog posts, but it's an aspect ratio of 2 to 3 for standard images. Video, you can do 1 to 1 or 4 to 5 or 9 to 16. So you can just download your videos from other platforms, strip off those watermarks and upload it. Now I'm going to tell you that for 2022, and it's not going away, idea pins. I mentioned this format earlier. So it's they call it a multi-canvas format, but it's really just several pages, 1 to 20 pages that can be, they're dynamic. So it's like images and video or just images. And what they are is they're fantastic for blowing up your visibility. So you can repurpose your Instagram reels, your TikToks, you can cut, your YouTube shorts. And what I just urge people to do is to think about sizing, think about filming, on your phone natively and then uploading to the platform so that you don't even have to worry about watermarks. So really to get the most out of the platform, do some research about keywords, optimize your account. And I have free resources about that. And think about using idea pins and just look at repurposing content in a purposeful way. And for the love of God, stop just trying to push your paid thing, right? Like Pinterest, it's like, it kills me. Like someone, like I get these emails. Hi, Megan, I heard you on a podcast, or I met you, I saw you in a webinar. I have a $1,000 course and I've been creating pins for it and nobody's buying. I'm like, because nobody's expecting to buy a $997 course. So you remember your customer journey. How can you educate them through other vehicles, whether it's your podcast or regular videos, or you want to drive traffic to a Facebook community where you go live, or a wonderful blog that adds value to your life. I mentioned earlier the importance of content, and really is like, I don't want to say king or queen, but content is cornerstone to reaching your people. And nobody wants to be sold to right away, right? They don't want to be sold to right away. You got to take them out for dinner and do the song and dance and have some repeat dates. Then you can, once you establish a relationship, you can sell to them.
Okay. Love it. Megan, you mentioned there's some resources on your website. Come on, hit me with some URLs or some.
If you go to meganwilliamson.com, I have streamlined my life as my life gets busier and more hectic with a second child, who we were laughing that our first child was very high needs and we were really gunning for our second to be a potato or a loaf of bread. But she is just as crazy as the first one in different ways. But I only have one free lead magnet. And it's actually, though, just like you said, my workshop that I did for a summit, I make it high value. So I teach people about standard pins, video pins, idea pins. And it's all about how to create pins that engage your audience. So if you just go to meganwilliamson.com, you will find that on the homepage. You can check out my Instagram. I do sometimes take breaks from Instagram for my mental health, but that's Megan A. Williamson. And yeah, those are two main places. I have a free Facebook community as well. Again, if you just search Megan Williamson, there's 9,000 business owners in there. And, there's lots and lots of free resources there.
Awesome. Okay, please check it out. You are a fountain of information.
Thank you.
I knew you were going to bring the value. I saw that summit and I was like, this lady. Thank you so much for being on.
Oh, you're so welcome. Thank you for having me.
Okay, did you love Megan as much as I did? I got the opportunity to chat with her a little before this episode, and I could have talked to her all day. I love what she says about how people are making decisions with their eyes. I mean, you do it every day, right? Not just on Pinterest. We've got to be cognizant of when we are nurturing our people. Well, I hope you took away some incredible Pinterest highlights. And here's what I want you to do now is take action. I want you to learn from all the experts that I've had on during the Build Your Audience series. I will link to everyone we've had on. Now, in case you haven't gotten a chance to listen to the rest of the lineup for the Grow Your Audience series, I'll link to those episodes in the show notes. We've got Pitching Podcast with Christina Lankowski, Building Up Your LinkedIn with Adrienne Weimer, DIYing Your PR with Jennifer Bearson, and now, of course, this incredible episode with Pinterest expert Megan Williamson. I'll link to all those in the show notes. Next week, I'm going to have more course creation and marketing tips for you. Make sure to subscribe so you don't miss one episode. Until next week, go create, be you and be brilliant, and get it done.